Okay, so it's March 31st, 2020 here at Greg's Garage. Getting ready to start the next project, which has been in the making for way too long. It's my own personal car I've had since right out of high school, and it's a 61 ragtop. I drove it for quite a while, tore it down. I was gonna do it up for a car show when I lived in California, and paint didn't turn out like I wanted, and then it just got pushed off to the side. Since, you know, build these cars for a living and stuff, that I just got fed up with it and moved on to the next project, and then it's been on and off again ever since. A few years after that happened, I got the itch to get it going again and sprayed it, started putting it together, and then my jet ski trailer got knocked into it, smashed the hood in, and then ended up going on a big hiatus of moving across country from Northern California to Southern Tennessee, and it's just been from one storage spot to the next. It's been in a barn, storage unit, changed houses again, the whole nine, the typical story. So, with this whole coronavirus thing going on and it being super slow for us here at the shop, it's, I guess it's a good time to do it. So I closed down my storage unit, so you can see from the last video of building the sandrail, it looks quite a bit different in here. All of these seats, that whole shelf, and a bunch of stuff in these tubs, as well as all these parts here. I still have more boxes of parts in the house. Here's the wheels and tires for it. And then over here is a stroker motor that I pulled out of another car that we just did. Not sure exactly what size it is yet, but it's got some good heads on it and stuff. So we'll be tearing into that, confirming. There's a lot of Jeanberg stuff on it, full flowed. It looked really fresh inside. We popped the heads off real quick just to see what it was like inside. I mean, it ran good, but somebody had pulled the dual Webers off and threw a progressive Weber on it and was just choking the life out of it. Up here, I've just basically had to gather up everything that I had kind of stashed away and left over from other projects to put this car together this time. The pan was all freshly painted, you know, 10-12 years ago, and from it being kicked around, moved around, you know, it's starting to show its signs of being out in the weather and such. So we're going to strip this down, repaint it, and then build it all back up from scratch again. Over here, got a Pro Street freeway flyer from Rancho, 388 ring and pinion, all the other good stuff in it. And then I picked up a 2-inch narrowed beam for it, just to get the wheels tucked in a little bit better for the front disc brakes. So everything's just kind of coming together now. I got flat 4 BRMs, just got new tires mounted up on those, but it's gonna have 4-wheel disc brakes, all that kind of good stuff. So here's what we're starting with, and the car is gonna be a little different than it was before, since I'm using a lot of stuff left over from other projects, cars that got started and then got sold, things like that. So the interior is completely different than what I used to have. So just keep watching the series here. I'll keep posting videos as we get into it, but it's gonna be a full-on build, and it's gonna turn out real nice. It's not gonna be a perfect show car like I was gonna do at one point, but I mean, in reality, let's face it, you don't want that if you're gonna drive it every day. And that's what I wanna do. I'm tired of building the cars all the time. My stuff sits, and I've done show cars before where every nut and bolt's super pretty, you know, candy paint jobs, all that. It's just too nice, and you're just scared to drive it afterward, and every little scratch just burns you up. So I decided I don't want to do that this time. I'm going to make it real nice, not perfect, use what I have, and just get it done and enjoy it again. So that's what it is. that's the plan, and just keep watching and we'll get it all put together. All right. As you can see here, started wire wheeling, stripping it all down. And all cleaned up real good. There's some thick, nasty tar on there. Finding a little bit of rust coming back up through, you can see there. We got old patches that need to be cleaned up. Get that all ground down. Stripping all that down. Getting there. Okay, so after about a day's worth of work, this is where we're at. This was super thick. Like, I don't know if it was some sort of tar or what had been put on it at one point. A bunch of the grinding done from the patches that had been done. Tunnel had been opened up for welding the clutch tube, reinforcing it. But you got that all ground down. Had to weld up some more holes. But it's coming out good. Now, if we were going to do this for like show car style, obviously we would have put new pans in it and sandblasted it, but for this will be just fine. After we get the bottom all stripped, we'll put some rust converter on this so that it'll lock it all in, and then we'll come and smooth out these welds a little better. Maybe put a little filler just so it's all nice and smooth and clean. Finish body work in this. All right, let's get it flipped over and keep going. Flipped over and get an idea of what the bottom looked like. These holes here, as well as those there, it used to have a 6-point roll cage in it. These were gone because of the patch that had been put in. The biggest thing that's going to make it look a lot different after we spray it again is it will not be this color. Changing it up. I'm getting tired of seeing nothing but black floor pans. So stay tuned to find out what color we pick to shoot it. so it's April 2nd, 2020. We still have this nice bug for sale if somebody's looking for a good car, good solid car. It's from California, never had rust, doesn't have any issues with it. It's ready to go. Good daily driver. Show it if you wanted to. So we still have this if you're interested in it. There's another video if you click on my other videos. Full walk around, everything. Check it out. All right, well, it's time to get back to work on the Bandit project. All right, so we put that metal conditioner on here, basically rust converter. You can see basically just puts a white haze to things and just stops all the rust. So now we're gonna mix up some Rage Gold body filler and just come in here where these patches have been put in and just do a quick smooth out, not anything crazy. Just come in around there, just so all that stuff just lays out smooth. That way when we put our sound deadener in here, it'll just lay out that much smoother and cleaner. All right, let's get to it then. We're also gonna do this side just real light, then we're gonna flip the pan over again and do the bottom of it and straighten out a lot of it just so it's not quite so rough looking. All right, getting to it now. This is as much of the wire wheeling and stuff as we're gonna do on this. We stripped it all down. You can see some filler from trying to smooth out the patches when I did that about, I don't know, 15 years ago at least. So we stripped out most of that. Just beat the pans back into shape as much as possible for what it was. Like I said, we're not trying to make it perfect. It'd be a whole different ball game if we were. So now we mixed up some of this chrome-free metal conditioner, 2 to 1, and then pretty much just pour it on your rag, wipe the whole pan down with it, wait 10 minutes, and then we can start doing that filler and smoothing those pan sections back out, make it look decent, and then we'll be all ready to start spraying some paint on this thing. All right, so right before we wrap it up for today, where this is rusted through here, it's not that big of a deal. So for what we're doing here, I'm gonna mix up some of this door skin and SMC adhesive. This stuff is basically just like welding that So we're gonna mix this up, spread it in there. We got a couple little spots, and then where we have some heavy pitting over here on this side, and then a couple little teeny tiny pinholes back in the battery tray. We're just gonna skim over it, and that'll do it for this. So let's get this stuff mixed up. This stuff levels out real nice. It is self-leveling, so you don't have to make it overly perfect. It'll lay out real nice by itself. Some pretty good pitting over here, still solid, but let's go ahead and throw the rest of this in it. Actually gonna mix up a little more and put some right here. Just got a little skim coat in the battery tray. And you can see how it's already trying to level itself out there. So that's gonna do it for today, and then we'll get started on it again in the morning, get it all finished up, and we should be ready for paint tomorrow. All right, so April 4th, finally got done with all the wire wheeling, sanding, all that super fun stuff. Now we're getting ready to lay down some paint. So now you get to see what color we're gonna paint this chassis. Basically, kind of like an antique white. This is industrial PPG, goes straight to bare metal, works really good. Has a nice shine. You really can't tell the difference in it unless it's a metallic versus your regular single stage or base clear paint. But it bonds really well. You can see how well that laid out, that epoxy that we put on there. Cleaned up real well. See the underside. And then we went ahead and sanded down and prepped all the engine tins. Gonna paint them the same color as well. Got the beam all sanded down. This was a new beam picked up at the last Bugapalooza in Chattanooga, and this thing had runs all over it like you wouldn't believe. You can see here. We got most of them. All the rest of the tins. And then here, last night, we pressure washed the transmission, cleaned it all up, just went ahead and gave it a fresh paint job, bagged it, and since everything had just been resealed and stuff, we're gonna go ahead and just spray the outer parts of the tubes. And then we're not using drum brakes, so we're just gonna leave that on there. In the meantime, if it gets paint on it, really doesn't matter. All right, so let's get some color on this thing. All right, so we got it all done. Went pretty well. The first gun I started out with, just cheap old Harbor Freight one, usually works pretty well for this. It was just acting all sorts of stupid, and it started spitting paint out the top and all kinds of ridiculousness, but we got it on there. See how that laid out real nice and slick. There are a few spots that first gun got me. It spit up, you can see right here, and then also a nice little spit right here. But the worst one, you probably see it in that time lapse where I was just like, what the heck, was right here. I'm not sure if it'll show up that well in the video or not, it's so bright out here, but it just spit all over this back here, and it just so one of the pleasures of painting. Anyhow, I switched out to the Iwata. Had no issues after that. Laid out real good, but you can see, got this all sprayed out. All the tins are gonna be real good. Got them both sides. E-brake handle. And then beam. Laid out real good. Fan shroud tipped over backwards because it's not real stable on here, but you don't see the back side of it. And then I was able to just kind of spray it anyway. Just melted it right back in. but it is gonna look sharp. Like I said before, we weren't shooting for perfection on this one, just make it nice, be a good driver. And something different. You build these cars all the time like I do, you know, you get tired of doing the same old thing, seeing the same old thing. And this is definitely a change from normal. So now we'll just let it sit for a couple days, let the paint harden up real well, and while this is sitting, we still have all the trailing arms, spindles, disc brakes, all those other parts and pieces, tie rods, you name it, steering box, all those things that need to get done up, cleaned up, painted. All the rest of those parts are going to be black, so it'll definitely pop. All right, there you have it. Nice, clean, shiny white pan.